I think every fan has a list of songs that they think works better on stage than it did in the studio, and vice versa. And I was wondering, are there certain songs that you prefer or you think they did better on stage than they did in the studio?
The ones that I find work best on stage, I always love the studio version of it too. So there's not necessarily a like Street Fighting Man. I love the Beggar's Banquet version of Street Fighting Man, the acoustic, but I also love what they did with that on stage. Same with Give Me Shelter. How can you complain about that studio recording? But the live versions of it are, often transcendent. But then here's an example. Emotional Rescue, Let Me Go. I love that studio recording. It's kind of laid back, in no hurry, grooving. Then the version of it they did in 1981 was really hurried. I hate that version.
Yeah.
I
totally.
don't understand what they did with that or why.
It's like,
get it.
Just don't even play it then.
Right. Maybe they felt like it was too slow, and everything about that era was, let's speed up the tempo.
Right.
That did not work. I will say, then there are some of the later, like Sad, Sad, Sad. I like the studio recording.
Yeah, right.
That, but it never works for me on stage.
And
I suspect one of the reasons why is that the part that Mick plays is supposed to drive the whole thing. And whenever Mick plays the guitar on stage, he's turned way down. So you don't really hear that. It's like when the keyboard or the intro hits, you just hear the keyboards.
Yeah.
Rather than Mick's rhythm guitar. So I don't love that. Same thing of let's say later, I Go Wild. Love the studio version. Never could get into that one on stage for the Voodoo Lounge tour. Again, it was a little too keyboard driven. I think for the same reason, Keith thinks, well, Mick's got his part covered, but we're not hearing that in front of house. We're hearing a lot of keyboard during the verses anyway.
Yeah, because it's got you're missing the suspended fourth on the guitar, but da da da.
You're
and
not
the
hearing
keyboard's doing that.
Yes, it's all wrong. Shouldn't be.
Yeah, good point.
Then, everything from Some Girls sounded great on stage.
Yeah, oh yeah, made for the stage, really.
Yeah. I love the version of Fingerprint File that's on Love You Live. I like that quite a bit, maybe even more than the studio recording.
Wow, interesting.
That's one that I wish that they would bring back. I think they could even find some cultural relevance for that if they want.
I think so. I thought they were going to bring it back I was thinking I could totally picture them bringing it back. Because to me, it has the same dynamics as Living in a Ghost Town. The way Mick kind of brings that vocal down and he's whispering, all that stuff. And I think Fingerprint File has the exact same dynamic. It's waiting to be played.
I like what they do with It's Only Rock and Roll. I like the live version in the key of B.
Yeah.
Better than the record. The record is great, but I like what they did with it. When Mick Jagger did that with Dave Grohl for Saturday Night Live.
Right.
They wanted to go back to the original in the key of E, and so that would have been
2011, 12-ish, no?
Yes. Yeah, it was before the Stones got back together, I think, right before that. Dave Grohl did not get the memo. Mick doesn't sing it there anymore. It's like...
Yeah, it's a whole different monster altogether. And that's whenever they play It's Only Rock and Roll, I think they've calmed down on it now, but have you ever noticed that towards the end of the song, it's always like a tug of war between Keith and Ronnie on who will do that outro, that Chuck Berry...
Yes.
Yeah. And usually Keith starts it, or Ronnie starts it, then Keith takes it away from him, and then It's both of them at the same time.
Yeah. There's my favorite version of It's Only Rock and Roll is from
I know what you're gonna say.
Germany, 1990.
Okay.
Broadcast on TV, the International Rock Awards show. So you can find it on YouTube. Sam Kinison, the late comedian, announces them from the award show, and then it's a satellite broadcast from. It only says Germany. I don't know. I can't ascertain. I've never been able to ascertain what city. It could be Frankfurt or possibly Hamburg. I'm not sure, but you can find that on YouTube. And Ronnie does that part that you're referring to. And the solo Keith plays is the best he ever played that solo. Absolutely. His fingers are like doing things that I didn't know that they did. Like,
that's so cool.
He's on another planet.
The only song that I don't think works is, which might be blasphemous, is Honky Tonk Woman. I think on stage never comes close to the studio, which is the only way I want to experience that song, is that drum opening, that the way that song unfolds. And I don't think that ever really lands to me on stage.
I'm surprised to hear you say that. Like, that's one that always works for me.
That's okay. Well, with that being said, my favorite part of them doing it on stage is to get that, back when Charlie was around and now with Steve, to get that solo Keith and the drums. That interaction during the intro is just heaven, and that to me is the peak of the song.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I mean, the recording is it's hard to improve on that, but I do think they do it justice. And I like what they did with it in Mick Taylor's time. But and even in when they would open shows with it in 75 and 76, and that was, they did the extended intro before the lick that Keith plays. They just keep right. It's a great way to build up the momentum of a show.
Didn't they also have that extended intro in 89 or 81 too?
Yeah, as they were blowing up the dolls. Yeah, inflatable dolls.
My rule is the longer that intro is, the better. I love that.
Yeah, you don't want to get to that money lick too soon. You want to save that. The way they do Painted Black is kind of different. I like both equally. I've never liked Miss You all that much live. It's good, but it doesn't capture the greatness of the recording.
No, but actually the only tour that I love almost every version from the tour is, it goes without saying 78 obviously, but for me 89, 90. To me that groove that they hit during that tour for Miss You, I thought was always tight, and I liked it despite the harmonica synthesizers.
Fake harmonica, yeah. But that's such a minor part, like it doesn't bother me all that much. Midnight Rambler, obviously the studio recording is good, but the 69 version on the Yayas is the definitive version of that song.
Really. That's what locked me in really as a fan. Was I had Hot Rocks on, and still very young, just going through the set, and that one came on, that cut of Midnight Rambler from the Yaya set. I said, oh, that's it. Where do I sign? That to me is it's perfect.
I do think I think Sympathy has fallen off from 2012 on in this new era. I don't think that Sympathy is landing like in 89. It really achieved a new height. I mean, I love what Mick Taylor did on it. on Get Your Yacht on the '69 tour, but '89 was great, and it maintains throughout the years. But I think Keith really struggles with that one now.
Well,
And sometimes the verses now they just it's just the piano, like Keith and Bonnie just.
It's really the
bail
Mick
out.
show. It's really the Mick show, that song, which is fine. It's like it refocuses you. But the one thing that always kind of irks me, and this goes back to another thing we talked about earlier, but it's during the choruses when Keith hits that B, he'll let the B ring out, but there is no resolution to that energy with the E. He just does this weird little lick, which I think just lets it hang, and it kind of makes it more of a playful riff as opposed to a more powerful, aggressive, angry sound.
No, I know exactly what you mean. He pulls off the sus, but he lands on the major third of B, like it's a Chuck Berry lick.
Yeah, it's like almost like a seven note.
It's very wrong for that moment of the song. It's really wrong.
Right.
It's not wrong musically, theoretically,
right?
But vibes wise, it bugs. I'm equally as bugged by it as you are.
Yeah, it makes it more playful and takes away the menacing vibe of the song.
Right, and it should not be a Chuck Berry type lick in there. Just should not be. And he didn't used to do that.
No.
I don't know why. I had to sit down with Pierre and with Keith, and we need to talk. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. But I have many questions.
I know it. And now I'm loving Jumping Jack Flash is to me the new song where I'm gauging how they're doing on this tour, because Midnight Ramble used to always be that song for me. Let's see how they're really doing on this tour, and that song told me a lot about them. And now Jumping Jack Flash is my little thermometer gauge, and it's really great to see them come alive on that. So it's really the Keith show, and whatever problems we have with the mix, they sort of make a little bit better. He's a little bit more even, but they still kind of put all these things in a row.
He plays with a lot of confidence on that one still, which is good. But he makes things hard for himself. Plays big jazz boxes. He started doing that like in '97, actually. That's where I remember seeing them fairly regularly. The big red one is a 335.
Yeah, that's the first one he started playing.
I don't get that. I don't understand that.
And you know what's, I don't know if I told you this before, but I remember reading an interview with Pierre, and when he found that guitar, either the red one or the black one, he presented it to Keith, and then he was speaking to the interviewer, and he said, I mean, look at that guitar. Can't you just see that there is no other guitar that represents Keith Richards? That guitar is Keith Richards when you look at it. And I go, what?
Really?
No. Yeah.
Which, I mean, again, maybe our problem is with Pierre. And he's the one leading. I mean, in the making of Crossfire Hurricane, he presents him with a guitar that Jimmy. Oh yeah, Jimmy. Remember, and then they did Blues in the Morning.
Right.
So this is in the Under the Influence.
Yeah.
Documentary that came out on Netflix. A Black Gibson, I guess. Was it a Black Gibson? I don't know. But yeah, I don't. If you play a guitar like that, they're not really easy to play rock guitar on. Like if you played I don't know, they have a purpose, and it's not that.
Right, like it's only rock and roll. That's the only time he should be playing that song, on that song. If you're gonna have it anywhere in the modern set, like.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not gonna be playing, like George Benson kind of guitar or something.
Yeah. It's very perplexing. I keep saying this, but and then he loves the Les Paul Jr. single cutaway, and then when he was in Nashville, 21, then he found another one. He put it on his socials. He's like, "Oh, I found." I was like, "No, brothers." Oh, you don't need another one of those. And then when he puts the telly on, like at Jazz Fest. He played the Telecaster on Let It Bleed and I think time is on my side,
Oh, okay.
and it sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
Like all that telly-driven stuff in '97
Yeah.
on Flip the Switch.
Sympathy for the Devil. He played on that
Sounded
too.
fantastic
Yep.
through that telly.
Yep. I miss that so much.
Yes. There's just too much Gibson going through a Fender amp. Too much. And
That'll be the next video. Gibson versus Fender for the Stones. The biggest enemy.
They have their uses, their lanes.
Yeah.
But the lanes are getting crossed.
Yeah. Well, we'll figure this out in the next video.
Yeah. Let's
To be continued. Thank you, Scott.
all right, Justin.